There is a fundamental framework of thought that entirely reshapes the reality you experience. It doesn't start on the surface. Not with mantras, not with forced affirmations, not with sheer willpower. It begins in a much deeper stratum of your psyche. It originates in the precise location that determines whether you are a reaction to the world or whether you are an emanation from within yourself. Can you feel the difference? Can you sense the vibrational gap between a person who is constantly scrambling for validation and a person who simply occupies their space and finds the world drawn to them? This quality of presence has a name in depth psychology, and it doesn't just alter how others see you. It alters what is able to enter your life in the first place. Over the next 50 minutes, you are going to discover the precise reason why some individuals seem to effortlessly attract profound respect, deep connections, and unseen opportunities, while others pour out their energy, burn themselves out, and remain completely invisible. This isn't about learning external strategies or manipulative social tactics. This is about a core internal reorganization of your psychic architecture. The difference between an inflated, fragile ego and a truly integrated self was identified as the critical pivot point in human consciousness. The difference is invisible to the eye, but its effect is nothing short of magnetic. What you're learning here isn't a life hack. It is a profound recalibration of your entire operating system from the inside out. You will learn what it means to think from a queen's framework, which is the opposite of obsessing about being a queen. And it is this single pivotal shift in perspective that unlocks the very doors that previously seemed welded shut. This is the beginning of what we might call a Carl Jung transformation, though it has been happening inside you long before you had words for it. Imagine for a moment that your mind is an energetic blueprint. Every core belief, every shadow you've suppressed, every wound you've hidden, broadcasts a very specific frequency. Most people believe they can change their lives just by thinking a positive thought. But that's like putting a single coat of paint on a house with crumbling foundations. What truly matters is not the isolated thought, but the psychic structure it grows from. Our internal organization determines whether we are broadcasting from a position of a supplicant or a sovereign. A queen never needs to ask if she's allowed to enter the room. Her entry defines the room. The space itself reorients around her presence. Now, this has absolutely nothing to do with arrogance. It is a matter of profound internal coherence. When your ego is no longer at war with your shadow, when you are no longer desperately trying to exile or hide parts of yourself, your energy stops hemorrhaging. You become whole. And this wholeness, this integration, creates a field that other people can feel before you ever say a word. They sense that you are not auditioning for their approval. They sense you are not trying to prove anything. And in a strange paradox, this very lack of seeking is what magnetically draws the validation and respect that so many others chase in vain. Think about the last time you were in the presence of someone who was trying too hard. You could feel it, couldn't you? The desperation, the need, the grasping energy. It made you want to pull away. Now think of someone who was completely at ease in themselves. How did that feel? You probably found yourself drawn toward them, wanting to be in their orbit. That's the difference between fragmented energy and integrated energy. One repels, the other attracts. Before we go deeper into this transformation, if this resonates with something true in your soul's journey, please hit that like button and share. Your support helps this message reach other souls who are ready to remember who they really are. So many of us carry an invisible script, what might be called a complex. A complex is like an autonomous pocket of the psyche that hijacks our reactions. The good girl complex, the orphan complex, these patterns are rampant. They're born in childhood when we learn that our full radiance is somehow dangerous, that shining brightly invites punishment, and that it is simply safer to stay small. This complex whispers in your ear constantly. Don't speak up until you know what everyone else thinks. apologize for taking up space. Just be grateful they even noticed you. Smile more. Want less. Be less. Do you recognize that internal whisper? It's subtle, but it dictates your entire framework for reality. As long as you are thinking from that complex, you are, in a mental sense, perpetually standing outside the door, waiting to be invited in. You are waiting for an external signal to tell you that you're allowed to stand up and be counted. But that invitation will never come, because the only one who can grant it is you. A queen reverses the flow. She asks one question first. Is this resonant with my own deep inner truth? This one simple reversal of the query changes the entire relational dynamic around you. This isn't an act of selfishness. It is an act of profound energetic responsibility. Think about what happens in a room when someone is constantly seeking approval. They create an anxious field. Everyone can feel it. The energy becomes heavy, sticky, uncomfortable. But when someone enters who is anchored in their own center, the entire atmosphere shifts. Suddenly, everyone can breathe a little easier. Why? Because they're no longer being pulled on energetically. They're being given permission to simply be. When you stop polluting the room with the static of apology and unconscious submission, you implicitly give everyone else permission to step into their own power as well. You become a mirror for sovereignty, not a mirror for neediness. And this, by its very nature, attracts an entirely different caliber of people and circumstances into your life. How you view yourself in your own mind is the blueprint for how the world will position you. If your internal narrative is still running on the software of, I must prove that I am worthy, then you make yourself an object to be evaluated by others. You hand your power away to every passing opinion, every critical glance. The entire process of what's called individuation is the journey from object to subject, from the one being assessed to the one who assesses, from the reactor to the actor. This journey of spiritual growth begins with a simple, profound decision. You stop seeing yourself through the eyes of others. A queen holds her own gaze even in the face of rejection. She understands that rejection cannot touch her essence. It only reveals that the other person cannot match her frequency, and that is perfectly acceptable. When you operate from your center, external projections lose their ability to stick to you. They find no hook, no opening, no charge, because you are internally stable. This is the pivot point. You stop attracting what you fear and begin attracting what reflects your integrated sovereignty. In this moment, something fundamental shifts. Your thinking moves from the frequency of fear to the frequency of presence. Fear is always asking what might happen if I am truly seen. Presence simply states, I am here. No justification, no apology, no shrinking. This simple declarative presence has a transformative power precisely because it does not ask for permission. The concept of the transcendent function describes the psyche's innate ability to unite seemingly opposing forces. Most people live in a state of internal fragmentation. They believe they must choose between being strong or being sensitive, between being autonomous or being connected, between being assertive or being soft. A queen doesn't choose. She integrates. She understands that true power is not found in being one-sided, but in the capacity to hold the entire spectrum of human experience within herself, without judgment. This mode of thinking is not purely logical nor purely emotional. It is symbolic. It operates through synthesis, not exclusion. Have you ever noticed how exhausting it is to maintain these divisions? How much energy it takes to be whoever others need you to be? How you fragment yourself into acceptable pieces and scatter them across different relationships, never showing your whole self to anyone, not even to yourself. This fragmentation isn't just uncomfortable, it's the source of your psychic pain. Because when you divide yourself, you create internal conflict. Part of you wants to speak your truth. Another part fears the consequences. Part of you wants to take up space. Another part believes you should shrink. And these warring factions consume your energy in an endless civil war. You wake up exhausted even after sleeping because your psyche has been at war with itself all night. You feel drained after social interactions because you've been performing multiple roles, switching between masks, trying to be whoever you think others need you to be. You feel hollow because you've scattered yourself across so many different versions that you've lost touch with the core. This is what living in fragmentation feels like. And if you're reading this and thinking, yes, that's exactly how I feel, then you're ready for what comes next. Because the solution isn't to fight harder or try to manage the fragments better. The solution is integration. It's bringing all the scattered pieces back home. When you stop fragmenting your own psyche into good parts and bad parts, your energy consolidates. You become a coherent whole. And the people around you feel this. They don't feel confused in your presence. They feel clarified because you are no longer broadcasting internal confusion. You are no longer a battlefield of contradictory impulses, but an integrated landscape. What do you attract then? You no longer attract chaos because you are no longer in a state of inner chaos. You no longer attract people who prey on your insecurities because you are no longer wearing your open wounds as an invitation. Instead, you attract resonance. You attract people and circumstances that vibrate in harmony with your inner wholeness. This is the secret of magnetic thinking. It begins by ending the civil war inside you. This is where true spiritual growth takes root in the soil of your own integrated consciousness. Think about it. Think about every relationship that drained you, every opportunity that felt wrong, every situation that left you feeling diminished. They weren't accidents. They were mirrors. They reflected back the fragmentation you carried within. They showed you the parts of yourself you hadn't yet made peace with. But here's the revelation. The moment you begin to integrate, the moment you start welcoming all parts of yourself back home, the external mirrors change. They must. Because you are no longer the same person. Your frequency has shifted. And the universe responds to frequency, not to wishful thinking. This is where shadow work becomes essential. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's the repository of all the energy you've disowned. Think about how much power you've exiled. Maybe your anger because you were taught nice girls don't get angry. Maybe your ambition because you learned that wanting too much makes you selfish. Maybe your sexuality because you were shamed for your desire. Maybe your grief because showing pain was seen as weakness. Every time you pushed away a part of yourself, you didn't destroy it. You just sent it into the basement of your unconscious. And down there in the dark, it's been waiting. Sometimes it leaks out in unexpected ways. You snap at someone you love. You sabotage your own success. You find yourself inexplicably attracted to the wrong people. These aren't character flaws. They're your shadow trying to get your attention, trying to come home. All of that energy, all of that vitality, it didn't disappear. It went underground. And now it's locked in the basement of your psyche, consuming energy just to keep it contained. Think about it. If you have a wild dog locked in your basement, you have to use energy to keep that door shut. You have to be constantly vigilant, constantly on guard, constantly making sure it doesn't escape. That's exhausting. But imagine what would happen if you could reclaim that power, not by acting it out unconsciously, but by acknowledging it, giving it space, understanding its purpose. What if you opened the door and instead of a wild dog, you found a loyal guardian that had been protecting a part of your power all along? What if your anger was actually your boundary setter? What if your ambition was actually your life force? What if your sexuality was actually your creative energy? What if your grief was actually your capacity for deep love? This is the difference between a person who denies their power and a queen who owns it. The queen is not afraid of her own intensity. She knows she can be both gentle and fierce, both vulnerable and powerful, both in stillness and in motion. She is not reduced to a single role. She is the entire spectrum. And this inner fullness translates to the outer world. You no longer attract people who only want one piece of you. You attract people who can recognize and appreciate your wholeness. You attract situations that demand and celebrate your entire range. Your life becomes richer, not because you have more, but because you are more. This inner resource is what's called the self, with a capital S, the center and the totality of the personality. When you have access to this center, you are no longer dependent on external validation. You are no longer driven by the fear of rejection or the hunger for approval. You are self-possessed. You rest in yourself, and you act from that rest. Not reactively, but consciously. Not driven, but guided. From the inside, not the outside. This is the essence of royal thinking. You are your own authority, not in the sense of being stubborn or closed off, but in the sense of having internal clarity. This clarity attracts. It's like a lighthouse in the fog. People who are also seeking their own center are drawn to it. They recognize in you something they wish to awaken in themselves. And this is the true service of a queen, not to rescue others, but to remind them by her very presence that they too carry royalty within. Have you ever met someone who simply had nothing to prove? Someone who was just there, complete and calm, and whose very presence shifted the energy of the entire room? That is not an accident, and it is not an inborn gift. It is the result of the deep inner work of individuation. These are people who have faced their shadows, integrated their disowned parts, and made peace with their own contradictions. They are no longer fighting themselves, and so they have no need to fight the world. You can cultivate this quality. It starts by noticing. Notice when you shift into the mode of justification. Notice when you make yourself small. Notice when you are mentally asking for permission to take up your own space. And in those exact moments, you can pause and you can ask, what if I didn't have to do this? What if I was allowed to simply be here, exactly as I am? This question opens a doorway to an entirely different thought pattern. A pattern based not on lack, but on fullness, not on fear, but on trust, not on proving, but on being. A queen does not argue for her royalty. She embodies it in every gesture, every choice, every silence. Her thinking is not loud and demanding. It is quiet and certain. The true self cannot be explained to another person's ego. It can only be recognized by someone who is also awake. This means you will not be understood by everyone. And that is perfectly profoundly okay. When your thinking is anchored in the self, in that deep internal wholeness, you stop battling with people who cannot understand your frequency. You simply let them be, and you remain in your truth. That is the ultimate freedom. You do not need to be understood to be respected. Your presence is enough. This certainty is magnetic precisely because it is not needy. It does not ask. It does not demand. It does not plead. It simply is. And that which is simple, true, and whole attracts that which is like it. So many people spend their lives chasing an external crown. They chase validation, status, achievement, or love. They believe that if they just acquire enough, perform enough, or please enough people, they will finally feel whole. But this path is a dead end because it is based on a false premise. The idea that wholeness can come from the outside. What we understand through depth psychology is that individuation is not an act of construction, but an act of unveiling. You do not create the self. You simply clear away the debris that blocks you from seeing it. The queen has always been there, buried under layers of conditioning, trauma, adaptation, and fear. The journey is not about becoming someone. It is about remembering who you have always been. Do you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be, before you learned to shrink, to adapt to hide your truth? That original self, unfiltered and whole, is your queen. She has never ceased to exist. She has only been waiting for you to find the courage to remove the masks and see her again. When you begin to think from this place of remembrance, everything changes. Not because the world has changed, but because you have returned to your center. You no longer seek completion from the outside because you realize that wholeness was always your factory setting. This realization is revolutionary. It ends the endless striving, the desperate search, the chronic dissatisfaction. Suddenly, life becomes simpler. Not because the challenges disappear, but because you are no longer fighting yourself in the middle of them. You are no longer divided, so the world no longer needs to send you reflections of your division. You attract what resonates with your essence, and you let go of what does not. Without drama, without guilt, without doubt. The thinking of a queen is not strategic. It is intuitive. It does not ask, how can I get what I want? It asks, what is aligned with my truth? And this question opens pathways that the strategic mind could never find. Because when you act from your truth, you are working with the flow of life, not against it. There's a principle called synchronicity, the meaningful alignment of an inner state with an outer event. When your inner world is ordered, your outer world orders itself to match. Not through magic, but through resonance. Your inner state sends out a signal, and the universe responds in kind. A queen sends the signal of sovereignty, and life responds with circumstances that mirror that sovereignty. Think of it like tuning a radio. When you're broadcasting static internally, you receive static externally. But when you tune yourself to a clear frequency, suddenly you start picking up signals you couldn't hear before. Opportunities that were always there, but you couldn't perceive them. People who were always around, but you weren't vibrating at the right frequency to connect with them. Resources that existed, but you couldn't access them from your old state. This is not wishful thinking. This is not manifestation mumbo-jumbo. This is basic energetic principle. You cannot attract what you are not in resonance with. A person vibrating at the frequency of lack cannot attract abundance, no matter how many vision boards they make. A person vibrating at the frequency of unworthiness cannot attract respect, no matter how many affirmations they repeat. But when you do the deep inner work of integration, when you reorganize your psychic architecture, your frequency changes. And when your frequency changes, what you attract must change. It's not optional. It's law. This does not mean you will be exempt from difficulty. It means you will meet difficulty in a new way. Not as a victim, not as someone being done to, but as someone who understands that challenge is part of the journey. You do not lose your center when things go wrong because your center is no longer dependent on things going right. This stability is what others find so attractive. People are unconsciously searching for an anchor, for someone who is not tossed about by the storm, someone who radiates an inner calm even when everything around them is chaos. This is leadership in its purest form. Not through control, but through presence. A queen does not hide her power. She does not apologize for her presence. She does not over-explain herself. She is simply there, complete and unwavering. And this quality has become so rare in a world that teaches us to constantly bend and conform that it acts like a magnet. People sense that this is someone who is no longer playing games, someone who is not trying to be liked, but is simply authentically being. And authenticity is the most powerful magnetic field of all. In a world full of masks, a true face is a miracle. This is the essence of what might be called a Carl Jung spiritual awakening. Though it's less about waking up to something new and more about waking up to what has always been true. Shadow integration is one of the most vital steps toward this awakening. Your shadows are not your enemies. They are disowned parts of you that are begging to be seen. When you turn to look at them, when you stop running from them, they lose their power over you. They become your allies' sources of untapped energy. And suddenly you have access to a strength that was unavailable to you before. Imagine you've spent your whole life using a massive portion of your energy to suppress certain aspects of yourself. Perhaps your anger, or your ambition, or your sexuality, or your grief, or your wild creativity, or your deep longing. What if you could reclaim all that energy simply by allowing those parts to exist, not by acting them out unconsciously, but by acknowledging them, giving them space, understanding their purpose? This is the difference between a person who denies their power and a queen who owns it. The queen is not afraid of her own intensity. She knows she can be both gentle and fierce, both vulnerable and powerful, both soft and solid. She is not reduced to a single role. She is the entire spectrum, and this inner fullness translates to the outer world. You no longer attract people who only want one piece of you. You attract people who can recognize and appreciate your wholeness. You attract situations that demand and celebrate your entire range. Your life becomes richer. Not because you have more, but because you are more. This inner source, this center, it's what we call the self, the totality of the personality. When you have access to this center, you are no longer dependent on external validation. You are no longer driven by the fear of rejection or the hunger for approval. You are self-possessed. You rest in yourself and you act from that rest. Not reactively, but consciously. Not driven, but guided. From the inside, not the outside. This is the essence of royal thinking. You are your own authority. Not in the sense of being stubborn or closed off, but in the sense of having internal clarity. This clarity attracts. It's like a lighthouse in the fog. People who are also seeking their own center are drawn to it. They recognize in you something they wish to awaken in themselves. And this is the true service of a queen. Not to rescue others, but to remind them by her very presence that they too carry royalty within. You cannot save anyone, change anyone, or heal anyone. But you can stand so fully in your own truth that you give others permission to do the same. You become a mirror, not a savior. And that is far more powerful because it empowers others instead of making them dependent. A queen does not meddle in other kingdoms. She respects boundaries, both her own and those of others. She knows when to give and when to step back. She understands that every person must find their own center, and she cannot bypass that process for them, no matter how much she might want to. This wisdom comes with maturity, with understanding that love does not mean shielding someone from their consequences, but supporting them as they bear them. True love empowers. It does not disempower. It holds space. It does not rescue. When you love like this from a place of fullness, not a place of lack, your love becomes a force that heals without harming. It challenges without crushing. It gives without depleting because it comes from a well that never runs dry. Your own integrated self. And as you begin to live from this pattern, something remarkable happens. Things begin to align. Not because you are fighting or forcing, but because you are in harmony with your own true nature. Doors open. People appear, opportunities manifest, as if life was just waiting for you to finally arrive. A queen does not wait for the perfect circumstances. She creates her throne wherever she is. She understands that sovereignty is not a location. It is a state of being. She could be in a palace or a small apartment. It doesn't matter. Her royalty is not an external affair. It is an internal posture. You can adopt that posture now in this moment. You do not have to wait until you have fixed everything, until you are healed, until you feel ready. The queen is already there, beneath all the doubts and fears. She is just waiting for you to acknowledge her. Do you acknowledge her, that voice inside you that knows, that has never doubted, that has always been there, quiet and patient? That is your royal essence. It has survived every storm, every rejection, every disappointment. It is indestructible because it is not contingent on anything external. When you begin to think from this essence, your entire reality recalibrates. You no longer attract from a place of fear. You attract from a place of truth. You no longer attract from a place of lack. You attract from a place of fullness. You no longer attract from neediness. You attract from sovereignty. And what you attract will mirror this transformation. People who respect your dignity, situations that honor your wholeness, opportunities that call forth your true potential. This is the secret. You attract what you are, not what you pretend to be. And the more you grow into your truth, the more magnetic your life becomes. This doesn't mean life will be easy, but it means you will have an internal anchor that will hold you through any challenge. You won't lose your center when things go wrong because your center is no longer tied to external circumstances. It is anchored in yourself, in that deep inner truth that can never be shaken. The archetype of the self, this image of wholeness that every human carries within, it's not static. It unfolds over a lifetime. But it was always there, as a potential, as a seed, as a promise. Individuation is the process of that seed becoming a tree. And that tree, your full self-realization, is what the world needs. Not another copy, not another adaptation, not another person trying to fit in, but you in your full, unfiltered, radiant truth. That is your contribution. That is your throne. That is your crown. You do not have to earn your sovereignty. You do not have to fight for it. You do not have to be granted it by someone else. It has always been yours. You just forgot to wear it. But right now, in this moment, you can choose to remember. The remembrance begins with a simple decision. I will no longer apologize for my existence. I will no longer make myself smaller than I am. I will no longer ask for permission to live my own life. I will take my place not with arrogance, but with dignity, not with demand, but with certainty. When you live from this decision, everything changes. Your voice becomes firmer. Your boundaries become clearer. Your choices become more authentic. You stop working against yourself and start working with yourself. And that is the turning point where life stops being a battle and starts becoming a dance. But let's be practical. How do you actually live this on a daily basis? How do you embody sovereignty when the world is still demanding that you shrink? How do you maintain your center when everything around you is pulling you off balance? It starts with awareness. Notice the justification impulse. Catch yourself in the act of making yourself small. You're in a meeting and you have an idea, but before you speak, you hedge it with apologies. I'm sorry, this might be stupid, but... Or you're in a conversation and someone crosses your boundary, but instead of holding it firm, you immediately backtrack and make it okay. Or you're creating something, and before you share it, you preemptively diminish it. It's not that good, Do you see the pattern? It's the preemptive strike against your own power. You diminish yourself before anyone else can. You reject yourself before anyone else has the chance. You think you're protecting yourself, but you're actually abandoning yourself. So the practice is simple but profound. Catch the impulse. Feel it rising in your body. That familiar squeeze in your throat, that tension in your chest. And then pause, just for a moment, and ask yourself, what if I didn't have to do this? What if I was allowed to simply state my truth without apology? This question is a doorway. It opens you to a different way of being, a way that doesn't require you to earn the right to exist, a way that simply allows you to be here as you are, full stop. No justification needed. Try it right now. Think of something you've been hesitant to say or do. Feel how you would normally frame it with apologies and hedges. Now imagine stating it clearly, simply, without diminishment. How does that feel in your body? Scary, probably. But also, if you're honest, doesn't it feel a little bit like coming home? This is spiritual growth in action, not as a concept, but as a lived practice. Every time you choose presence over apology, you are rewiring your neural pathways. You are teaching your nervous system that it is safe to take up space. You are proving to yourself that you can survive being fully seen. Your voice is one of the clearest indicators of your internal state. A queen's voice is not loud. It is clear. There's a difference. You don't need to shout to be heard. You need to speak from your center. When your words come from your core, from that place of integrated wholeness, they carry weight. They land. People listen not because you're demanding attention, but because there's a resonance to your speech that cuts through the noise. Practice speaking from your diaphragm, from your belly. This is where your power lives. When you speak from your throat, from that constricted place of fear, your voice is thin and apologetic. But when you drop your awareness down into your body, into your center, your voice changes. It becomes rooted, grounded, certain. Try it right now. Place your hand on your belly. Take a deep breath. Feel your hand rise with your breath. Now speak from that place. Say something simple. I am here. Notice how different it feels. Notice how the vibration changes. That's the voice of your sovereignty. That's the sound of your queen. And here's what's fascinating. When you change how you speak, you change how you think. The two are intimately connected. Your voice shapes your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your voice. So by practicing speaking with more groundedness, you are actually reshaping your entire mental framework. You are quite literally talking yourself into a new way of being. Boundaries are another crucial practice. A queen has clear boundaries. Not because she's rigid or cold, but because she knows where she ends and another begins. She does not take responsibility for other people's emotions. She does not twist herself into shapes to keep everyone comfortable. She allows people to feel what they feel, and she remains in her truth. This is incredibly difficult for most people, especially if you were raised to be a peacekeeper, a caretaker, the one who holds everyone together. The idea of letting someone be upset with you, of not fixing their discomfort, can feel almost unbearable. But here's the truth. When you abandon your boundaries to keep someone else comfortable, you are teaching them that your needs don't matter. You are teaching yourself that your needs don't matter. And you are creating a dynamic where resentment inevitably grows. Here's what most people don't understand about boundaries. They think boundaries are walls, barriers that keep people out. But that's not what boundaries are. Boundaries are clarity. They're the definition of where you end and another begins. They're not about keeping people away. They're about inviting the right people closer while maintaining your integrity. When you have weak boundaries, you let everyone in and you lose yourself. When you have rigid boundaries, you keep everyone out and you isolate yourself. But when you have clear, healthy boundaries, you can be intimate without losing yourself. You can be open without being invaded. You can give without being depleted. A queen says no without guilt. She says yes without resentment. Her choices come from clarity, not obligation. And when she makes a choice, she stands in it. She doesn't apologize for disappointing someone if staying true to herself requires it. Practice this. Start small. Say no to something you don't want to do. Don't offer an elaborate excuse. Don't justify. Just know I'm not available for that. Feel the discomfort. Sit with it. Notice that you survive it. Notice that the relationship doesn't actually end just because you honored your truth. Your choices are the most visible expression of your sovereignty. Every choice you make either reinforces your wholeness or fragments you further. When you say yes to something that's not aligned with your truth, you fracture a piece of yourself. You send the message that external approval is more important than internal integrity. But when you choose from your center, even when it's difficult, even when it disappoints others, you strengthen your core. You prove to yourself that you can be trusted, that you will not abandon yourself for acceptance. This is the Carl Jung transformation in its most practical form. It's not just a philosophical shift. It's a daily practice of choosing yourself over and over until it becomes natural, until your default setting is truth, not people-pleasing. Now, not everyone will understand your transformation. In fact, some people will actively resist it. Because when you change, you disrupt the system you were part of. If you were the one who always said yes, always accommodated, always made yourself small, and suddenly you stop doing that, it creates waves. Some people will be genuinely happy for you. They will celebrate your awakening. These are your people. These are the ones who resonate with your new frequency. But others will feel threatened. They will miss the old you. The you who was easier to control, easier to predict, easier to keep in a box. And here's where the queen energy becomes crucial. A queen does not dance for applause. She dances because the dance is her expression, her truth, her joy. And those who are meant to hear her music will find her and join in. The others will walk on by, and that is fine too. You are not here to please everyone. You are here to live your truth. And that truth is the most powerful magnetic field in existence. It attracts what belongs to you and repels what does not. Trust this process. Trust your inner queen. She knows the way, even when your mind cannot see the path. This path is not always comfortable. It will challenge you to release your old patterns, to give up your familiar roles, to leave your comfort zone. There will be moments of grief. You will grieve the person you thought you had to be. You will grieve the relationships that cannot survive your growth. You will grieve the time you spent betraying yourself. Let yourself grieve. This is part of the integration. This is how you make space for the new. You cannot fill a cup that is already full. You must empty out the old to receive the new. And grief is the emptying process. But on the other side of that grief is something extraordinary. It's freedom. It's the freedom to be exactly who you are, without apology. It's the freedom to speak your truth without fear. It's the freedom to take up space without guilt. It's the freedom to love without losing yourself. It's the freedom to live from your center always. This is the restitution of the throne, the reclaiming of your power, your dignity, your sovereignty. No one ever truly took it from you. You gave it away. But now you can take it back in this moment with a single decision. I remember who I really am. And who are you really? Not the conditioned version, not the adapted one, not the frightened one. You are the queen who was always there, who never left, who was just waiting for you to find the courage to see her. She is your essence, your truth, your power. When you think from this essence, when you act from this truth, when you live from this power, you attract everything. Not because of what you do, but because of who you are. You are complete, undivided whole, and wholeness is magnetic. The secret of the queens was never a secret. It was always inside you, hidden in plain sight. You just had to learn where to look within, to remember. And now that you remember, what will you do? These questions are not rhetorical. They are an invitation to make a choice that only you can make. No one else can walk this journey for you. No one else can place your crown upon your head. You must take it yourself with both hands, without hesitation, without doubt. And when you do, when you truly step into your sovereignty, you will watch as the world reorganizes itself around you. Not because you are controlling it, but because you are finally in harmony with your own true nature. And that harmony sends out a signal, a magnetic field, that draws in everything that resonates with it. When you begin to live this truth, not just understand it, but embody it, your life becomes a testament. Not through words, but through presence. Others will look at you and wonder what has changed. They will feel your energy and be drawn to it without knowing why. You won't have to explain anything to them. A queen does not explain her royalty. She lives it. And that in itself is more than enough. Your life becomes the message. Your presence becomes the invitation. Your truth becomes your gift to the world. This transformation, this Carl Jung spiritual awakening, it ripples out. When you heal, when you integrate, when you become whole, you don't just change your own life. You change the lives of everyone you touch. Because wholeness is contagious. Presence is contagious. Truth is contagious. You become a permission slip for others to do the same. You become living proof that it's possible. That you can face your shadows and survive. That you can integrate your fragments and become more powerful, not less. That you can stand in your truth and not only survive, but thrive. The archetype of the self, that image of wholeness, it was always there inside you. Not as something to achieve, but as something to unveil. Like a sculptor who doesn't create the statue, but simply removes the marble that hides it, you don't create your wholeness. You reveal it. Every false belief you release is a chip of marble falling away. Every shadow you integrate is another layer removed. Every time you choose truth over approval, you are revealing more of who you really are. And what emerges is breathtaking. It's not perfect. Let's be clear about that. A queen is not perfect. She is whole. And wholeness includes flaws, mistakes, rough edges. But she doesn't apologize for them. She doesn't hide them. She owns them as part of her complete self. This is what makes her magnetic. Not her perfection, but her authenticity. Not her flawlessness, but her wholeness. People are starving for authenticity in a world of filters and facades. When they encounter someone who is genuinely, unapologetically themselves, they cannot look away. Your full self-realization is not just for you. It's your gift to the world. Because the world needs what only you can bring. Not a diluted version, not a people-pleasing version, not a playing small version. The world needs you at full volume, full color, full power. That is your throne. That is your crown. That is your contribution. And you don't have to wait until you feel ready. You don't have to wait until you've healed everything. You don't have to wait for permission. The Queen is here now in this moment. She has been here all along, through every challenge, every heartbreak, every moment you thought you couldn't go on. She was there holding you, keeping you alive, waiting for you to recognize her. She is the part of you that has never doubted. The part that knows your worth even when you forget. The part that has always believed in you, even when no one else did. She is indestructible because she is not made of external validation. She is made of truth itself. When you think from her, when you see through her eyes, everything changes. You realize that you were never broken. You were never lacking. You were never insufficient. You were always whole. You just couldn't see it through all the conditioning and fear. But now you see. And once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you remember, you cannot forget. Once you reclaim your throne, you cannot go back to being small. Oh, you might try. Old patterns die hard. But they will feel increasingly uncomfortable because they no longer fit who you are becoming. You are becoming sovereign. You are becoming integrated. You are becoming whole. And with every breath, with every thought, with every choice, this becomes more real. This becomes more solid. This becomes who you are. The world will respond. It must. Because you are no longer the same person. Your frequency has shifted, and life responds to frequency. You will notice opportunities appearing that weren't there before. not because they didn't exist, but because you couldn't see them from your old frequency. Doors will open that you didn't even know were there. Conversations will happen that lead to unexpected places. Resources will appear exactly when you need them. And you'll look back and realize that life was conspiring in your favor all along. You just couldn't see it from where you were standing before. You will notice people responding to you differently. Some with more respect, some with confusion because they're used to the old you. Some will fade away naturally because there's no longer resonance. And new people will appear, people who match your new frequency. This is not manipulation. This is not strategy. This is simply how energy works. Like attracts like. Wholeness attracts wholeness. Sovereignty attracts sovereignty. Truth attracts truth. So if you've been wondering why your life hasn't changed despite all your efforts, consider this. Perhaps you've been trying to change the outside while remaining the same on the inside. Perhaps you've been trying to attract new circumstances with old energy. But now you know. The change must come from within. The transformation is internal first, external second. When you reorganize your inner world, your outer world has no choice but to reorganize to match. This is the ultimate power. Not power over others, but power with yourself. Not control of circumstances, but sovereignty within any circumstance. Not dependence on the external, but absolute trust in the internal. And from this place, from this centered, integrated whole place, you attract everything. Not because you're chasing it, but because you're resonating with it. Not because you're forcing it, but because you're allowing it. Not because you're desperate for it, but because you're ready for it. The search is over. The striving can cease. The proving can end. You are already what you've been seeking. You are already the queen you've been trying to become. You just needed to remember. And now you have. Welcome home. Welcome to your sovereignty. Welcome to your throne. It was always here waiting for you. And now, finally, you've arrived. Not to a new place, but to yourself. And there is nowhere more powerful to be. If this journey has resonated with you, if you've recognized yourself in these words, share your awakening in the comments below. Where do you recognize your own queen? What part of this transformation speaks most deeply to you because you are not alone on this path? There are others remembering alongside you, others reclaiming their sovereignty, others coming home to themselves. And together, we create a field of permission, a collective permission to be whole, to be true, to be free. Subscribe to continue this journey of spiritual growth and transformation. Because this is not the end. This is the beginning of your life as sovereign, the beginning of your life as whole, the beginning of your life as you. The queen is no longer waiting. She is standing up. She is putting on her crown. She is taking her throne, not someday in the future, but right now in this moment. And with every breath, with every thought, with every choice, she becomes stronger, clearer, more present. You are her. She is you. There is no more separation. This is the completion of the journey. The realization that you were never separate from what you were seeking. The queen was always there inside you as you. Welcome home. Welcome to your sovereignty.